What up, world? We're 18, back at it again. Welcome to the episode. Today we're diving into one of the most forgotten groups from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, the Punk Frogs. Yeah, you heard me right. The Ninja Turtles actually had their own mutant amphibian rivals. They only showed up in a handful of episodes. So why didn't they stick around? Were they supposed to be the next big spinoff? Let's break it all down. I don't even know why I came up with this topic. I think I was watching an old Ninja Turtles episode and I saw the one of the Punk Frogs or whatever. I was browsing through YouTube or something. But I saw that and I was like, oh shit, I remember them. And they were only in a couple episodes, so I decided to do a video on it. Maybe you guys remember it. So who are the Punk Frogs? Introduced in Season 2, Episode 7 of the 1987 Ninja Turtles cartoon, the Punk Frogs were Shredder's answer to the Turtles. Mutagen got spilled on 4 swamp frogs and Shredder decided to train them to fight against the Ninja Turtles. The frogs were named after famous conquerors instead of Renaissance artists. Attila the Frog, Genghis Frog, Rasputin the Mad Frog, and Napoleon Bonafrog. Each had their own weapon, style, and personality, much like the Ninja Turtles.
As Splinter has done with the Turtles, I have named them after personal heroes of my own. Attila the Frog, Genghis Frog, Rasputin the Mad Frog, and Napoleon Bonafrog. I, the greatest martial arts warrior of them all, have personally trained them.
That's funny. I didn't even remember the origin like that until I looked it up or whatever. That shit is funny. Shredder tried to just copy word for word the Ninja Turtles, but he used bad guys in history instead of fucking artists. That shit is wild. I actually like that. I think that's kind of cool. And he tried to make them bad guys. Their debut episode, Invasion of the Punk Frogs, set them up as villains. Shredder trained him to battle the Turtles, but unlike the Foot Clan, the Frogs weren't truly evil. They were more misguided. Eventually, they realized Shredder was manipulating them and decided to side with the Turtles. This gave the Punk Frogs a potential arc. They weren't enemies anymore, but they were exactly regular allies either. I like that they became sort of good guys. You can tell that they was trying to set them up for something bigger. Not sure exactly why it didn't spin off to their own show, because they were actually interesting characters, to tell you the truth. I'm not even on front, but I don't understand why they didn't have their own spin-off. The Punk Frogs reappeared in Season 3's episode Invasion of the Turtle Snatchers. Here they're shown as allies living peaceful in the swamp, but the problem is the show didn't do much with them. Instead of expanding their characters or giving them depth, they were used more background allies. It was clear the writers hadn't figured out what to do with them, beyond the gimmick of frog versus the turtles. That sucks because they clearly had no vision, and I don't understand why they didn't just let them do the same thing the turtles did, just in their area of the world or whatever. That would have made a lot of sense. Like, I don't remember where they were from. I think they were from fucking Florida or some shit. Just let them have their own adventures in Florida. They could have did the exact same thing, since they weren't bad guys, and then they could just like do crossover shows with them visiting. I think the Turtles were in New York, with them visiting the Turtles and the Turtles coming out there. They could have did a whole thing, but I guess the writers weren't smart enough to do that. The third and final time we saw the Punk Frogs in the original series was Season 4's Big Bug Blunder. But get this, the only Rasputin and Mad Frog actually showed up. The rest of the frogs are nowhere to be found. It was a strange creative choice, and it basically killed the momentum the group had. After that, they vanished from the series entirely. It made no sense to have them in the episode and only have 2 of them. That was so fucking dumb. I don't know. What's the point of even having them in an episode if you weren't going to use them? Use the rest of the fucking frogs. Like I said, which ended the fucking all the momentum they had. Because I remember growing up, I thought it was cool of them to have a totally different group that weren't turtles. They mutated a bunch of different creatures throughout the series, but having a group like the Ninja Turtles would have been fucking fantastic for a spinoff. And like I said, they just didn't know what to do with them. So why did the Punk Frogs disappear? The truth is, the show already had too many characters competing for screen time. Between the Turtles, April, Splinter, Shredder, Krang, Bebop and Rocksteady, and all the other guest mutants, the punk frogs just didn't fit. They were introduced as rivals, but once they stopped being villains, the writers struggled to find storylines for them. In a way, they became redundant, turtles but frogs. Which is why they shouldn't have never switched them to fucking heroes. They should have kept them as villains. They could have been Shredder's Ninja Turtles against fucking Splinter's Ninja Turtles. It would have been perfect. I don't know how hard that is to figure out. That made no sense for them to make them good guys. Then what, you're gonna have fucking 8 mutant ninjas? Like, it just made no sense for them to switch into good guys. They should have kept them as bad guys, kept them as Shredder's proteges, and it would have been perfect. They have villains. Bebop and Rocksteady are villains, and they worked. And they could have worked. The frogs could have worked too, even better. There have been rumors in fan circles that the punk frogs were originally meant to have more episodes or even their own spin-off show. While there's no hard evidence of the planned spin-off, toy lines from Playmates hinted at their potential. Genghis Frog and Napoleon Bonafrog actually got action figures, which showed the studio thought they had merch value. But without strong stories or demand, the punk frogs just faded away. In a world dominated by turtles merch, they never stood a chance to be the next big thing. I don't 100% believe that, because other characters of the Ninja Turtles were selling. I'm alone had a Bebop and Rocksteady. Shredder was a big seller. If they would have kept them as bad guys, they could have packaged them all together. Shredder with his fucking 4 kids or whatever, the 4 frogs or whatever. That would have been perfect. Even though they were forgotten, the punk frogs left their mark. Hardcore Ninja Turtle fans still remember them, and they've popped up in later adaptations, including comics and reboots. In modern interpretations, the frogs were given tougher, edgier designs, almost as a nod to their wasted potential in the original show. They might not have been icons like Shredder or Krang, but they're part of what made Ninja Turtles so interesting, a universe full of wild and weird characters. I'm glad they made some sort of a comeback. I totally remember them. I thought they were pretty awesome, especially as a kid. I thought they could have worked. It's cool that they brought it back in the comics and shit like that. So the punk frogs may have never been as big as turtles, but they'll always be remembered as one of the strangest footnotes in Ninja Turtle history. What do you guys think? Should the punk frogs have gotten their own spin-off, or were they better off as one-hit wonders? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more pop culture deep dives. That's gonna do it for the video, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I truly appreciate it. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, and all that good stuff. Thank you for giving me a couple minutes of your time. There's only 24 hours in a day, and you decide to give me a couple minutes. Time is precious, so I truly appreciate it. Like I said, that's gonna do it for the video. Have a good one, and I will get at you guys on the next one later.